the Gears of Steam podcast, where we talk about all the weird and wonderful things within the steampunk and sci-fi genres. I am your host, Raven Ashmore, engineer and scientist, and my guest here today is the gentleman himself, Professor Elemental.
Yeah, hello, God, you're late. Quickly, come in. Welcome to my manor house.
Hello.
Have a seat.
Yes, thank you. Oh.
No, that's not a seat. That's Jeffrey. Next to Jeffrey, stop pretending to be a seat. If you want to sit down here, it'll be fine. Lovely.
Okay, great.
Can I get you anything? Crumpets, muffins, ice cream?
I'm okay. I've just ate, so I'm okay.
Okay, lovely. Well, if you do, we've just whipped up another batch of horse ice cream. Not actual horse, just horse flavour. But if you do need any, just give me a shout.
Okay. Yeah, so, basically, can you explain to me who you, what, how do I
What? Who? What?
Could you talk?
You come to my house and ask me who and what?
Sir, don't, please. Basically, can you just explain a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. If only I could. Yes, well, I was born, very, very tiny child, almost a baby. And I grew up in this lovely stately home that we see now. It's a bit tumbled down and a bit battered, much like myself, really. Raised by a very, very stern mother and an even more stern father. And I'm breastfed till I was about, 24, 25. And then obviously grew up and needed something to do with my mouth. And so started rapping and took to the stage, whether they wanted me to or not. And I've appeared in all sorts of places now. Most of them I haven't really been asked to play, but I'll turn up anyway and shout weddings, bar mitzvahs. Did a funeral the other day. It was very upsetting for everybody. I didn't know the chap. I just thought I'd go and brighten things along. I explained it all to the police afterwards. It was a mistake, really. But I like to experiment with my music, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. Yes. So, from what I can gather, that you obviously are a gentleman that is of a more, how do you say, specific kind of way. A bit like me. I'm not so known in my community as a friendly chap.
We're sort of underground, the likes of you and me. We're not terribly well known, and that's probably for the best.
Yeah, the mayor insists on inviting me to the balls, but I insist to him that it's probably not the best idea.
No, not after what I heard happened to you last time.
Yeah, yes. So I've heard that you're a bit of an inventor, is that right?
Oh, yes, quite the inventor. Yes, I mean, it's been mixed success with my inventions, but my time travel trousers, after a fashion, worked out very well. Recently took those on a lengthy outing over the course of a whole album, and they've been working up a treat. And of course, my steamship, the Flying Susan, in which I've won a number of races across the country.
I see. Yeah, well, I am myself, but I'm more, how do you say, specialised in weaponry and such, due to the fact that I do work, or own, should I say, an airship maintenance and repair. We basically build and maintain, like an MOT.
Oh, nice. Could you pimp my airship? Because dear old Susie, she barely flies, to be honest. She's less of an airship now, more of almost a ship, and that's rubbish. No one wants a ship. What could you do? What could you do to Susie to lift her up a bit?
Well, Philip, he's my engineer for engines and navigation systems, so you probably could have a little look at it and see what he can do, and Lizzie, she can probably have a little look at the balloon, make sure there's nothing leaking or anything other than that.
I like that. Could you? I'd like a swimming pool.
Ooh, I could see.
Could you get or a paddling pool? I'd like to be able to drive while I swam. I think that would be nice. Something about mixing the air and water. Have you got any good weapons that I could attach?
Well, if you like railguns that use was it liquid nitrogen and was it quantum locking, which is what I specialize in with the electromagnets and such. Science.
Now you're talking my language. That sounds awesome.
Basically, it'll just send a giant metal rod towards your enemy and probably piercing their balloon. It does specialize in that kind of idea.
Yeah, yes, there we go. That's what I want. I'll take that over a swimming pool, actually. Yeah, I'll have a giant metal rod firing machine on my steamship. Perfect. So, thank you.
Yes. Also, I heard you talking about something like you said about time travel trousers. So you're a time traveler.
Yes, well, not intentionally, really. A couple of albums ago, Jeffrey, my 8 butler, escaped into time and space. And I forgot about him. And to be honest, life was peaceful and calm for a good couple of years. And then people started saying what happened to Jeffrey. And so I've recently completed an album where I do travel all through time and space, each song being a different time period. And I got lots of friends to help me, Steam Powered Giraffe and John Clark, who was on previous albums, Teach, and of course, all produced by Tom Caruana, and it's been probably the finest adventure of my life.
I must say, when it did come out, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I still do, obviously. And I do find that this constantly, well, most of your albums are constantly on repeat in the workshop.
Oh, that's delightful. Thank you very much. Yes. That makes it all worthwhile.
I do believe my crew do thoroughly enjoy your music.
Thanks, crew. I appreciate that. It makes a nice change, actually, from being arrested and chased out of various places. That there's still places that I'm still welcome, and if I can be welcome in a steamship air shop, then I'm a pretty happy fella.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not really. People let me go places, but when it's a time period, some people have exiled me from certain dates and years and such. I can't.
I mean, that is such a great idea. You've been exiled from certain years.
I can't.
I really want to steal that as a concept. It's really lovely. It's a really lovely thought. Where have you been exiled from?
Well, the most of the quarter of the early 1700s.
Oh yeah, no, they're very sniffy there. They won't have me back either. No.
The first quarter. 1976, 1841. They didn't like me then.
No.
I believe another time was 1781, but I could be getting that mixed up with the 1881.
Yeah, it gets muddly, doesn't it? That's the problem with time travel. And then you meet your past self or your future self, and they're traveling to or from the place you've just been or going to. The whole thing is a very confusing mess.
Oh yes.
That's how I managed to explain the massive plot holes that are inherent in any time travel adventure that I've put together so far.
Yeah, well, with me, you find that because I'm not an actual time traveler, I'm a part-time assistant of one whose name shall not be named because he's in a secret society and they, don't like.
Yeah, they're very funny bunch. Funny bunch, the old time travel community.
They're very scary people who just shout at you all the time. They don't let you do anything. I just want to have fun. Anyways. So yeah.
Maybe I mean, if they're the person who you're being assistant to, I mean, you could always send him off or her, send them off to another time period and leave them there and start off on your own.
Well,
that's kind of what Jeffrey. Actually, that's what Jeffrey did to me.
That was one of my first plans. It went well until the society found out.
Yes. And that's how you end up getting banned from various time periods.
Yeah,
so I do appreciate that's a tricky one.
There's apparently some things you're just not allowed to do.
Like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. There's some things you're just not allowed to go.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, obviously you were talking a lot about your music. You've done quite a few albums, which I found after many times time traveling around. And slowly had collected over these years.
Yeah.
I must say, probably my favorite out of all of it. I don't know why. Probably because I do love time traveling to the 21st century and attending conventions. But it's the one from the album the Giddy Limit. It's the enter the convention.
Oh, cool! I'm glad you like that one because it's a weird one. It does seem to be. It kind of polarizes people a bit because I've had a few comments. There was like a review on Amazon, like, it had guitars and I don't like guitars and it should never have been made. And then I've had other people say nice things about it, like it's their favourite. So yeah, and it was nice. It was a nice chance to because as much as I love doing songs about adventures and zeppelins and the like, I've become so immersed in nerd culture and being a massive nerd myself and spending so much time at these weird, wonderful conventions. It was nice to kind of broaden what I talk about as the professor a little bit and talk about some of the nerd culture things, like doing Don't Feed the Trolls as well. You know, occasionally you want to bring it up to date, and there are things that you want to talk about because I think we've got this whole vibrant subcultures that really we haven't really been explored in song in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like you're through your music. I love kind of all kind of music from all times. And when I found your music, I wasn't at that time. I wasn't really into rap, but when I actually saw that, and I kind of was like, well, I like this. This is something I've never really looked into before, and started actually looking at other artists and stuff. It kind of, you say, broadened my horizon of music. You could say.
Oh, that's awesome! What that you couldn't ask for a higher compliment of that. That is lovely. And actually, if there's anybody else, the other listeners, I recommend going to Tom Caruana's website. It's TC Records. T is in a cup of tea and CN is in the ocean. TCRecords.net. Because lots of the different people that Tom works with, similarly, they're rap music for people who often don't really like rap music. But there's loads of amazing rappers like Disraeli and Teach, John Clark, and it's worth bouncing around the internet, seeing what links to what. Because hip hop for all of its misogyny and obsession with money and so on. Underneath all of that, as with a lot of cultures and subcultures, there's some really beautiful music that's well worth tapping into.
Yes, definitely. Though I do seem to gravitate towards more the, let's say, not so general kind of music. Like obviously with Steam Powered Giraffe and your music, I tend to go for more bizarre in the way of saying
Yeah,
it.
well, Steam Powered Giraffe are amazing because they're just like they. Well, I know a few steampunk bands like this, but particularly them. They've kind of created a genre. It doesn't really have a name, and it's just them in it, and they do it brilliantly. And when I've kind of seen them live as well, I was lucky enough to do a show with them, and I've never seen such a devoted and enthusiastic fan base as well. Like the level of cosplay and knowledge of the songs and enthusiasm for it all it was awesome. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Steam Powered Giraffe. They're great.
Yes, they're very talented. As well as you. You're very talented.
Cheers.
And one day, once I finally get my airship up and running again, I'll probably take a wee trip over and see you live eventually.
Ah, you definitely should. You definitely should. I mean, I really love to get Steam Powered Giraffe here live actually, but
Yes.
they come with such a huge setup, and they have their own because they're so bloody professional. I just turn up with like a scratched CD and a hat and go, "Oh, I'm ready." Whereas they've got like their own sound system and sound man and photographers and all this kind of crazy business, so they haven't made it over here yet. But you're in the Northern Islands. I've never not done any gigs in Northern Ireland, so maybe I don't know if there's any conventions out there or if anybody fancies putting something on. I do quite a bit of stuff in Dublin, but I'd love to come out to
Well,
your neck of the woods to do a little show.
Northern Ireland has a very. There is a steampunk there's a Belfast Steampunk Society, which is very small and it only has about 300 members.
That's all right. That's not bad. That's not small compared to some. My God.
Half of them are probably not active steampunks like me, but I was probably thinking of starting to set up some basically like tea party like things because there's lots of lovely little old pubs in Belfast kind of style and was built in the kind of my time in the 1800s that would do lovely for that kind of thing, you know.
Oh, let's do it. If the Belfast Steampunk Society are listening, or even if you want to do something, let's put something on either for this year or next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Some kind of funky event. We could have a great time.
I was thinking planning for something for the summer, which would be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
But yeah, so you are a man who likes tea, I hear.
No, well, I mean, I don't know where you heard that from. I barely ever mention it. But yeah, I'll never say no. I'll never say no to a cuppa. I don't think I've ever said no to a cuppa, actually. No, I haven't.
Me, I lean more towards the coffees. I like the kind of taste, but if I
Oh, I had no idea.
but
I'm not sure this interview can continue then in that case. It's been a pleasure seeing you.
don't
Goodbye.
worry.
No, I'm only joshing. Even though you're a filthy coffee drinker, I'll let you stay in my home a little longer.
Here, a little story. There's this lovely, lovely little steampunk company, the first ever steampunk company I found in Northern Ireland. No, yes, Northern Ireland. That I was like, okay, our community is small, but we have a steampunk tea company. Okay, I like this. Okay, this can happen. And they're called the Miss McKeown's Tea Company. I've been trying to get in contact with Miss McKeown's, but she's been quite busy. Orders have been quite, let's say, frequent. Probably from me a lot.
I see. You've been keeping abreast of her feet.
Yeah, but they make lovely loose leaf tea. Their blends are just delightful. And I must say, I was very skeptical at the start, being a coffee drinker myself. And when I actually had a cup and I tried their blend, which is Heritage Breakfast, which is just like your standard kind of British tea. As I was absolutely shocked. It was the nicest thing I've tasted that is tea. I think I am an Assam's person, though.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's really, lovely. There's a tea out there for everybody, I say. You just have to find your tea. It's like finding your spirit animal.
Yeah.
You have to find your tea. If you had a spirit animal, what spirit animal would be your spirit animal?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
What beast do you most associate with?
Sloth.
Sloth is good.
It's-
I would say like I'm a slow Loris, and that's kind of in the same sort of family. Yes, sloth.
Sloths, because they're
everyone loves
they're
a sloth.
adorable. They make adorable noises and they sleep a lot, which is pretty much me.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Good choice. Good choice of spirit animal. Had to check. Okay.
Yes. But yes, so I was wondering, what is your favorite blend of tea, actually?
Ooh, it would be too crass to say my very own blend of Jeffrey's tea available from the Professor Elemental website. It'd be a terrible thing to say. It'd be too obvious. So I would. I have to say, and I don't want to disappoint anyone saying this, but I'm not sort of kind of a proper tea snob. I'm more quantity over quality. So I just need a lot of tea all the time, and I don't really care where it comes from. I'll have the cheapest tea bags made of old sweepings from the factory floor, or the finest, poshest blends of loose tea, depending on what's available. Unless I'm in America, in which case I always bring my own bags.
Yes.
Because they still haven't quite learned how to do tea there. They're close, but not quite.
Yes, I have heard it is not quite the same.
Nearly. They're nearly there. But bizarrely, the only place I found that you can get a decent cup of tea in America is Starbucks. And that just riles me. It just upsets me so much that I just end up not drinking any out of pure protest.
It's almost insulting.
It is insulting. How dare they? The very ruiners of tea.
Oh, catch on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, to the listeners who haven't actually seen what you look like before, explain what your fashion sense is like.
Oh, yes. Well, I favour the safari suits. Sometimes with a little Union Jack on, sometimes not. A second-hand pith helmet with some handmade goggles, usually dead man's trousers that I found in a charity shop, and a pair of £20 shoe-zone shoes that are often quite slippery with no grip, which is why I fall over so frequently at gigs when I've had a few drinks. That's the kind of look I like to run with. It's not fashionable. It doesn't look great, but it's my look, and I'm sticking with it.
Yes, I must say, like, when I often watch, like, interviews of you do quite a few, there was this one jacket, I can't remember, it was like an oldie kind of, it looked a little worn, it was like a Union Jack kind of style.
Sounds about right. Oh yeah, that one, I won that one. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, this was about 3 years ago. I did my first Glastonbury gig, and I'd lost all my friends. It was late at night. I was absolutely off my head. Just quite tipsy, and I was a bit down. I was a bit depressed, like Sunday night. And earlier that day, I'd completely forgotten I'd done it, but I'd entered a raffle at in this sort of bar area, and I got a phone call from them saying you've won this jacket, you've won this Union Jack jacket. And considering my act and what it is, I could not believe my luck. So I was delighted. I went and grabbed a Union Jack jacket, and I've worn it now so much that, as you can see, it's all getting a bit off colour and a bit frayed at the edges.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the nice thing about being Professor Elemental is you can be a bit tatty and frayed at the edges, and it's all part of the show. So that's fine. I tell myself.
Don't worry, I'm half mad myself. No, like I just love the look. It's just I love kind of visually seeing things. That's being part of a bit of an artist myself. Like I just love just nice things when it's steampunk.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I always feel so underdressed at steampunk events because people look so awesome. Do you know what I mean? Everybody makes such an effort, and then I kind of roll up looking like a sort of Victorian tramp, and I feel a bit guilty about it.
I feel.
Do you kind of go all out when you go to steampunk things? Are you
I've
quite
never,
well dressed?
I've never been to a few steampunk things. I've been to, like, comic book conventions. There is another gentleman that I've bumped into. Well, we haven't really bumped into each other. It's more like at a distance. We've noticed each other, nodded at each other, and then carried on with our days. We never actually met each other for 3 years. We've been doing this, and
You must go and actually say hello to the person. My
finally,
goodness.
finally, in October, we finally bumped into each other, and
Oh,
he,
good.
he talked about his stuff, and it was all handmade, and then there's me sitting there with, like, just like, yeah, I'm waistcoats, yeah, smiley face.
Yeah.
I tried I was wearing my Mark II robot arm because, I had an incident when I was younger, but that's just a story for another time. And let's say the Mark II is rough and ready is the way I could say. Currently working on the Mark III because the Mark II is a little bit difficult when you're trying to work on equipment and
Of course.
you snag your power pipe on something and yeah. I get electrocuted quite often.
It is. It's tricky. It's tricky to keep up with you. It's tricky to keep up with a good look, I think. But I think everybody's got different stuff to contribute when it comes to steampunk because it's not. It's not a spectator sport. And the nice thing is that no matter what your angle is, you can find some interesting way to interact with it. It might be that you're not bothered about kind of looking great like me, but you like making music, or it might be that you're really great at making weapons, or that you do a podcast based in a fantasy world, or whatever it might be. But we all kind of contribute in whichever ways are most comfortable to us, and I think that's really nice. I think that's what makes it so vibrant.
Yeah, like with me, I just kind of branch off in all the different directions from writing to drawing to podcasts. And currently learning guitar, very, very clumsily learning guitar, but maybe one day I will be the guitar player I wish to be. But that's very far away at this moment in time because...
That's good though. It sounds like you're firing on all cylinders. That's absolutely great.
Well, if I don't, it's long nights of not sleeping. I need to basically tire my brain out because it's one creative pain in my butt. Yeah, it's... I basically have to do something, otherwise I feel like I'm being unproductive, which is,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Even when I'm relaxing, like we had a week's holiday over the festive season, and even my version of relaxing, it's not really, I'm still doing something. Like I wrote pretty much a whole album while I was on holiday, but that was sort of my relaxing bit. 'Cause I wasn't sort of sitting on emails and things. But still, yes, I think some people have to be doing something. And if I'm most lazy, then I'll be reading, but voraciously, and loads of stuff in comics that I put in various orders to read in different ways and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The restless creative mind.
Yes, I'm constantly under like piles of paper and yeah.
It's a good way to be though. That's life's for the living. It's good to be kind of consumed with creativity. What finer way is there to spend your time? It's better than slumping in front of the TV for hours on end. That's super.
Well, when you're like neck deep in papers, and your assistant, my assistant James, has to dig in to actually get me out of them.
Yes. I know what you mean. Yes, occasionally you have to use it. Jeffrey uses like a sort of hook on the end of a stick and just drags me out of a pile of comics.
Yeah, another feeling. So now, I'm actually to explain it to you. Oh, how do I find the words? I'm from an alternate universe where basically the Irish and the English are very fond of each other at the time of my living existence in that time. And
well, no, fair enough. We are absolute bastards. There's no two ways about that. There's not many people who haven't repressed those, on behalf of us.
I'm on neutral ground. I don't worry about, independence from England or whatever. I don't care as long as my business is doing well. And I may, a few episodes ago, have said some harsh words about Queen Victoria. Well, not really harsh words, more like just saying to stop poking at me. I know she wants to... Her ships repaired and stuff, but when you live on an island that doesn't want you there, like, it's kind of hard to get your ships here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, is it? Yeah,
So
I do quite understand
I
that.
apologize for being so sporadic and loud the last time, Queen Vic, but yeah, things are. If you deal with the other like civil war shenanigans going on, then maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's not an unreasonable request on your part. I'm a bit funny with the Rose because I was, you would expect probably with my Britishiness to be kind of very kind of pro royal stuff, and actually it's weird. I kind of only recently I sort of stopped hating them outright, and thought actually they kind of do. They don't really do any good, but they don't really do any harm. I sort of see them as fairly neutral and hilarious. They sort of. I can't think of any better representation of Britain around the world than a miserable old lady who looks like she doesn't really want to be there. I think that's kind of. There's something quite fitting about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're all right, you know. They don't get in my way most of the time. You know.
Well, exactly, and I think and the other thing that I kind of sort of struck me was that I used to think, oh, the royals with all their sitting on golden thrones, looking down on all us poor people, and then I thought actually to be a member of the royal family would be shit. It would be awful. It would be really tiresome. You wouldn't be able to go anywhere or do anything. You'd have your life constantly analysed. You'd have to do all this stuff you don't want to do. And actually, I sort of felt a bit sorry for them. So the whole thing balances out as to deciding that I don't really care one way or another about them. It's quite refreshing that because I used to be full of vitriol and left wing aggression, and now in my old age I've mellowed.
Yeah, well, over here things are reasonable, but you know, as long as I can get access to the pub, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think they're any happier than we are, so that makes it all right.
Yes. So we're coming near close to the end of the episode. I just wanted to give you a few minutes to basically have your moment to talk to the audience directly, and you know, you could say something inspirational, motivational, or whatever you wish to say.
God, okay. Actually, it's something that's been striking me lately, listeners. This is what's been striking me, and this is what I want you to take away, if anything, from this. Other than the image of Raven accidentally sitting on an orangutan thinking it was a chair.
Sorry.
The only other thing to think of is I've noticed I've had a few friends recently who have been on Facebook and the like and spend a lot of time looking at other people's profiles and thinking that their lives are in some ways inferior to the people that they're looking at. And like if you were to look at my Twitter feed, it kind of looks like I just travel around the world, having all kinds of adventures and shenanigans. And while I am very lucky and lead a nice life, and you know lots of your friends will do as well, I've realised that it's all nonsense. Everybody's just putting the highlights of their life up on social media. No one ever puts, oh, I had an awful day. You know, my girlfriend and me had a massive row, and I ate some cold pasta and did my tax returns. People don't put those kind of posts up. So I think the one thing that I want to give everybody, and it should be your motto for the year, whenever you look at somebody else and think, oh, they're doing ever so well. A friend of mine's mum said this to me years ago, and it stuck with me. The phrase, comparisons are odious. Never compare yourself to anybody else. Keep doing your own thing, and you'll be absolutely fine. That's my inspirational talk for the day.
Well, I thank you very much for coming on to this podcast. If you want to find Elemental's website or where to find his music, I will put links in the description below. I will also put a link to Tom Camerana's website as well for anyone who is curious about that. I thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a nice day.
Thanks very much for coming round. Jeffrey, get off her. Will you get your filthy 8 paws? She's just trying to leave the house. I'm so sorry. Please don't call the police. Thank you very much for coming round. It's been a delight having you.
Same to you.